Things. More than anything, we're about fun. We're about rich entertainment. And we get there through the French Revolution, the Reign of Terror, a love story, a love triangle, really. We focus very much on three main characters: Percy the Scarlet Pimpernel, Marguerite, his wife, who used to be a French actress, and her lover used to be Chauvelin, our villain. And we have duels and balls, and we sail across the English Channel, and the plot is so complicated that I wouldn't even try to get into it right now. But more than anything, it's the story of these three people who are kind of, some of them hiding their real selves from the world, and some of them losing their real self. And in the end, there's a very happy ending, and the hero and heroine are together, and the villain is foiled, and everybody hopefully walks out of the theater very happy.
In 1989 or 90, and I'm always bad with my dates, you know that, I was asked to audition to be the composer for this show. And I played the piano at Kathy Rate's home, her apartment, for the then director, Michael Ockrent, and the then book writer, Arthur Coppett. And all I did was play themes that I made up in my head of scenes that didn't exist yet. And some of those themes were probably the song The Scarlet Pimpernel, The Riddle, When I Look at You, Madame Guillotine, just things I've been fooling around with in my head trying to find the musical vocabulary for the piece. Well, I got the job, you know, so we went from there. And then I met Nan, and then I brought Nan into the mix as the lyricist. And then through the years, as these shows tend to have, people came in and out. And I think really what kept the show alive was the album that we did. And once again, as you know, what's the most important to me is to build this bridge between the music industry and the theater world. And in fact, this show exists because of that album. And we had a top 40 hit on that album with Linda Eder and Peebo Bryson, who was playing Armand on the album, A View of My Home. And about after we did the album, Nan then took it upon herself to take a shot at writing the book, which she did brilliantly and became obviously the book that, you know, we're working with now. And Pierre, I believe, heard the album at Kathy Rate's apartment, the same place where I played the piano to audition for the show. And I guess he was taken by it and the passion of it. And the ball went from there. So that's kind of was the genesis of it. So I guess it's been about 6-7 years in the making, which of course, compared to Jekyll and Hyde, is a flash. But it's been its own kind of interesting journey.
Gnawing night and day and clawing through my brain and no, never yield, never bend, rend into bits. Now the beauty of the fight. I am not a man to hunger for blood, but the spirit can cry to be younger and fiercer and fly, piercing into the sky and higher, and the strong will thrive. Yes, the weak will cower, while the fittest will survive.
Chauvelin is the aide to Robespierre. He is, we're in the middle of the Reign of Terror, so the revolution is kind of getting out of control. Chauvelin was a believer in the revolution, and he was also obsessed and in love with Marguerite, who was part of the revolution, and that's where they met. So where we have been dropped into is sort of in the middle or near the end of the revolution having any good to do, and him trying to sort of see where he is with Marguerite.
How long have you been in rehearsal?
Since the 1st of August. Yeah.
So talk about some influences from the period that have helped you with your role.
Well, it's 1794, and I mean, I read the book, you know, and kind of looked up on what the style of the clothing was, you know, and really what the social and political atmosphere and climate was, and it was really It was really pretty horrific and terrible and intense, and it was like a witch hunt, you know, and not unlike what Napoleon created, not unlike what Hitler created, you know. I don't want to get into it being that insidious, but it was.
Sorry. You never know where he's going to be. What a fool I must have been, for how could I pull her in when I'd never let her go?
This is sort of the original Superman, the original Zorro, the original Lone Ranger. It's a mild-mannered gentleman, truly a gentleman, whose life has been about things that most people would suggest are less important than life and death. Through a series of events, what he feels is betrayal, he decides to dedicate his life to something more important, rescuing people who he feels don't deserve to die during the part of the French Revolution referred to as the Reign of Terror, when everyone was being guillotined. There was tremendous paranoia, panic, and all it took was the wrong word on the street, and you were in the prison and then off to the guillotine. And that's the duality, because in order to not be discovered, he lets himself go to the far end of the extreme of what would be considered a fop or a dandy, a less than important thinker, interested in style and color and fabric and painting and the fine arts and the affectations that go along with that, in order that people might not think that he would be the traditional hero. But the other duality that's really interesting is the comedy in the show and the life and death stakes, because the stakes are life and death. He agrees to put his life on the line for this cause, and then he takes under his tutelage another group of men, of 11 guys, who do the same thing for him, with him. So the stakes are very high. It's always life and death, which makes drama tremendously... It's thick, and people can't keep their eyes off it. But the other side is the comedy. When those high stakes run up against the kind of affectation that seems at this point in rehearsal to be appropriate, it can create that beautiful juxtaposition of tension that you get comedy with.
Marguerite was the lead actress with the Comédie Française. Percy, on one of his trips to England, he's the leading man, meets Marguerite, falls in love with her, and woos her. She comes back to live with him in London. Let me think now. I had a brief affair with Chauvelin, who was the bad guy prior to this, when I was I was also political. I was one of those, I was the Jane Fonda of the French Revolution, I suppose. So I stood up for the common people's rights, and I had a brief affair with Chauvelin, who was a zealot in the Revolution. It all goes awry, they all become fanatical. I leave with Percy, come back to England, and I don't know, how much thicker do you want this plot to get?
That's fine, because your Nan couldn't even explain it.
It's very tough. It gets very convoluted, which is what is one of the fascinating aspects of this show. You start to not really know where it's going to go, yet you sense there's this. It's a great adventure. It's very sexy. It's a swashbuckling, adventurous, romantic musical, and you just go with it. You know, you go for this ride, and as you get closer and closer to the ending of it, it just goes faster and faster, and you don't know what to expect. So you're kind of going, like in a good movie, when you're glued. That's how when I was reading it, I was going, oh no, that can't be happening. Oh no, they can do that. But if they do, I was, as an actress, reading it for the first time, completely caught up in it. So.
Someone has to face the valley, but shame can't surround me and we. Boys, get the world to say not to fight, not giving it got too much time. Boys, never hold back your step for a moment. Look alive or your courage will grow. Yes, it's higher and higher and into the fire we go. Into fire. Onward,
Thanks for watching the show. You can now email us at bbtv@aol.com. Until next time, this is Richard Ridge reminding you, you haven't really lived until you've seen it live. Good night.
God, when did man lose his reason? Save us, my God!